So, this next video here is called Clean with Bea. The free clean that still breaks my heart. If you like hoarding, this what it is.
Never cleaned a home quite like this one before. It's overrun with flies, mice, maggots and rats, and the
Oh
whole
Lord.
floor is coated in rubbish. Everything's sticky due to years of spilled energy drinks, and the only clear surface in this entire flat is this sofa. It's where the resident sleeps on nights when it's too cold for him to sleep in his car. Now, before you assume he doesn't have a bedroom, he does. It's actually the biggest room in this tiny flat, but he hasn't been able to access it for over a year. The door is
Okay.
blocked by rubbish and collapsed boxes, so instead his two options are his sticky sofa or his car. When we first
Ooh.
started talking, he told me the worst part of his day is when he finishes work, because when he finishes work he has to go home, and his home is little more than shelter from the cold at this point. The mice have chewed through the washing machine wires, so he
Dang.
can't wash his clothes. There are no clear worktops, so he can't prepare a proper meal. The bath is covered in thick black sludge, so washing himself isn't exactly pleasant. The resident's in a very cruel cycle. He's working to afford a space that makes him miserable, and when your home stops being a safe place to rest, eat and take care of yourself, it chips away at you bit by bit. If you've been here before, you'll already know that I only clean for people in need, and I only clean for free. Every time you interact with one of my videos, you are directly funding the next free clean. So if you haven't already, please consider subscribing to the channel so we can keep doing this. Right, pop your shoes on, we're going to Glasgow because we are starting this free clean.
Hi guys! This property is very small. We have signs of mice. We've got a lot of strong smells, and there is a lot of flies and a lot of rubbish.
Gracious.
But I'm gonna focus on one thing at a time, and considering
Do y'all think that's a mental illness? Some people say it is, but like, I wonder what. Like, yes, I understand like how's it get dirty sometimes, but what's the level? Like, what's the level between dirty and hoarding? You know what I'm saying? Like this, like, come. What do y'all think? Let me know.
I can barely stand up straight in this place, the mice can wait. As you can see, there are thousands of energy drink cans everywhere, and not the empty kind. Most of these still had liquid inside them, so every time I took a step, I was either standing on a can, crushing one, or knocking one over and adding another layer of sticky mystery.
The whole time, all them cans in there. If you got that many cans, you could probably make some. You probably made some decent money off of it.
Juice to the floor. At this point, I couldn't properly see the carpets yet,
Maybe
but
at
I
least
don't have to be
1,000.
Sherlock Holmes to know that rodents aside, the carpet is probably going to be one of the biggest battles of this entire clean. And then of course there's the sofa. Now, as I mentioned before, the resident's been sleeping on this sofa for years because his bedroom is so heavily hoarded that the door doesn't open anymore. And when he told me he'd been sleeping in his car most nights, it really put into perspective just how much living in that environment had been impacted.
So you have a crib, but you sleeping in the car. Like that don't. Hmm. Like why you even like for real? Like why you even living there if you sleeping in a car and stuff? You know. But I get like depression. You know what I'm saying? That's a terrible thing. So
Impacting
I
him,
get
not
it.
just
I get it.
physically, but mentally too. For anyone watching who doesn't know anything about Scotland, it's a beautiful country and the people are golden, but oh my gosh, Scottish winters are brutal. Trust me when I say, the one thing you definitely don't want to do in Scotland is be sleeping outside in a car in the middle of winter. And the fact that this man's two options were self-induced hypothermia or mice-infested sticky sofa speaks volumes on the headspace he was in. And I will be talking in detail about the resident because I believe if you're aware of the context, you can understand the headspace. And if you understand the headspace, you can understand how and why these situations happen. Speaking of context, at this point we've managed to clear a path to the kitchen and I could start finally separating the clothes from the rubbish on the floor. Clothes go in one bag to be washed at a later date, and the rubbish in here was going to go into our skip until I spotted some little black pebbles of doom, aka mice poop. That was my
But would you want them clothes after all of that though? So you might as well just throw them away.
My first uh-oh moment. The second uh-oh moment came not long after. You'll notice in the kitchen that there's a wine rack next to the oven. All of the lower shelves were packed with shredded cardboard and paper, which are classic mice nesting materials. This not only confirmed that mice were very much thriving in this flat, it also confirmed that my waste removal cost for this free clean just got bumped up by another few £100. Because if you didn't know, mice poop is super toxic. Now, the chance of hantavirus is small in the UK, but heavily infested homes like this one do still carry a significant risk that I'm not prepared to ignore. Plus, the presence of rodent killer that we found earlier means it's highly likely we're going to stumble across a few dead mice and rats. So specialist biohazard waste removal was booked just to be on the safe side. And whilst we're talking about being on the safe side, I feel like now's a good time to introduce our sponsor. You might know Wild from their refillable deodorants, but they've just brought out something new and okay, now we are repeating the exact same process in the living room. If you can't tell, I'm actually stood on top of the resident's old mattress. This mattress did have an active mice nest inside it, so everything had to go. Now, mice aren't stupid. They're very resourceful, very intelligent, and they have a great memory. The first day when Harry and I arrived and just started moving in this flat, we immediately heard them scatter. You could literally hear the rubbish rustle as they ran across it straight into the walls. And I'm mentioning this because we saw and found a lot of mice nests across this property, but they were all empty because the mice had scattered when they'd heard us coming. Between us besties, I have done so many free cleans where there have been mice present at the property. But when properties are well built, they tend to be quite well contained. This flat sits inside a huge old manor house that's been basically chopped up into as many flats as possible in the cheapest possible way. Think drywall partitions, hollow interior walls, gaps in the exterior, poor maintenance over the years, all of that kind of thing. It's obvious that this was once a very beautiful home, but the reality is now it's basically a glorified mouse motorway. Because the internal walls are so hollow and cheaply constructed, the mice have been able to chew straight through them, and as a result, the mice have now built nests inside the actual structure of the entire building, meaning they can most likely access every single flat in the building and move between each unit easily. Because they have full run of the building, getting rid of them is going to be very difficult, but we'll chat more about that later on. Because for right now, I am highly conscious that I've literally told you absolutely nothing about the resident who lives here, so I'm going to do that now. As many of you know, before any free clean begins, I spend months talking to the resident. I need to know what's sentimental in their home, what might be dangerous, and what we might uncover. This includes knowing about needles, medication, pests, or any possible biohazards, because I simply can't risk my health or Harry's health while we're helping someone else. When I asked the resident what mattered to him, his answer was heartbreaking. He said to me that almost everything in his flat could go. The only thing he wanted to keep were his clothes, his shoes, and his parents' wedding album. That was it. That was the sum of what he felt was valuable in his life. I'm gonna share a snippet of what he wrote to me when he applied for a free clean. Dear B, I've suffered with severe depression and financial difficulty for many years. I'm now in the progress of getting on the other side of this, but my last main obstacle is my house. Due to depression, I've not cared about how I live, and now my home is at a point that I don't know what to do. I mainly sleep in my car or on my sofa. It's uncomfortable, but I haven't been able to access my bedroom for the last year. I'm too ashamed to ask anyone I know for help, as I feel they would disown me. Like a lot of people that I help through these free cleans, no one in this resident's life knew that he was struggling. Every step of his recovery so far, he'd done alone. He suffered alone, he asked for help alone, he started healing alone. All he needed was help clearing that last obstacle. And that last obstacle was obviously, you know, the condition of his flat. Sometimes the difference between staying stuck in the situation that you're in and finally being able to move forward is simply just getting access to help. And for a lot of people, that help is completely unaffordable, which is why offering these free cleans to people that need them means so much to me. When I first contacted the resident, he was so shocked that I'd even read his application, let alone reply. He truly did not believe he was worthy of help. at all. So the fact that he even filled out that application form and got over that first hurdle of feeling like he wasn't worth a better life shows just how far he'd already come. Speaking of progression, I initially thought we were going to have to take this bedroom door off of the hinges. But once we'd removed that mouse-infested mattress from the living room, it wasn't long until we were able to pry the door open 1 inch at a time.
We're in the bedroom.
Actually, let me take my mask off. There was a 2-seater sofa which was blocking the doorway, so it was very difficult for us to actually see what was in the room. I reckon we could get this room completely cleared within the next hour, Harry. Watching that footage back, knowing what I now know, makes me want to scream at myself. Nothing that looks straightforward ever is, and this bedroom was no exception. Trust me when I say it was the most stressful and frustrating room to clean ever. Straight off the bat, it had a very funky smell to it. Like I said before, the resident had been unable to access this room for a year, so there was rotten food in here, but there was no moisture left in it. In my experience, no moisture usually means no smell, but oh girl, there was smell in this room. I was like 99.9% sure that that funky smell I was smelling was a dead rat or a dead mouse. And looking back at these clips now, it's almost funny because at the time I was completely hyper focused on trying to track down exactly where that smell was coming from. It wasn't until I moved to the right side of the bed that I started noticing more and more maggots in the carpet and more flies on the wall. But yeah, spoiler alert, we did eventually find our deceased little friend, so if you're squeamish, now might be the time to look away. At this point, finding our very stiff friend was not a big deal because we'd already booked biohazard waste removal, so getting rid of it, fine. Easy, plain sailing. I was, admittedly, focusing a lot on our deceased friend that I was not paying attention to the bed at all. It's as if the free cleaning gods wanted to throw another spanner into the works. The moment I pulled back the bedsheet and saw these stains underneath, my heart literally dropped. Because those dark specks that you can see on the screen are not dirt, guys. They are bed bug droppings. I usually flat out refuse to clean homes where bed bugs are present. And I know some of you are thinking, B, they're probably dead because the resident hasn't been sleeping in that room for over a year. Bed bugs are able to survive up to 400 days without food, so I'm not taking any chances. Everything is being sprayed down with bed bug killer, and once I'm certain there's no survivors, the mattress, bed base, and anything else that's contaminated is heading off to be incinerated. Hey, bestie. Okay, so the time is now 7:15 in the evening. We've been here for coming up to 11 hours now. You may be thinking, God, B, you are a machine. Why are you still here after 11 hours? Well, the rubbish people were meant to take the rubbish before 4. They're running very, very late, and obviously we can't leave until the rubbish is gone. Otherwise, it looks like we're fly tipping, which we're not doing. Welcome to my trash pile. All the trash you can want. So yeah, we're still here, but on the plus side, we have made such good progress. Can't believe how much we've got done. And then we're going to go home and maybe have a takeaway. Yeah. I've also got to edit a video for Friday. It's Wednesday today, so the pressure is getting worse. Deadlines. Hi MTV, welcome to my temporary crib.
It's so weird how they call it takeaway.
Washing pods, but jokes on them. I
Call
bought
it
my own.
takeout.
Harry, they even got a hot water
It's
bottle.
the same thing.
I love a hot water bottle. This is going to be Harry's new home. They've got a pooper. After poop spray.
You need that. Your ones always stink.
That's actually rude, Harry.
Anyway, after 11 hours cleaning, we called it a day, unpacked our Airbnb, had a KFC, and got an early night. Day 2 was the day that the real cleaning began. And oh boy, was it long overdue. Fun fact, this clean was located in a very rural village in Scotland, so every time Harry or I needed to go to the toilet on day 1, we had to walk into the next village that had a small cafe, use their bathroom, and then walk obviously all the way back. As you can imagine, that took time that we simply do not have. So getting this bathroom sorted, or at least to the point where we could use the toilet when we needed to, was a top priority. And I just quickly want to clarify for anyone thinking, oh, just put some tissue paper down and then go to the toilet that way. The reason I didn't do that is because at this point in the clean, the property is still so contaminated that removing my hazmat suit inside would have put my health at risk. So yeah, long story cut short, we're clearing this bathroom so we can clean it, so we can use the toilet. I'm also hyper aware that some of you might be thinking, wait a sec, B, I thought this clean was happening in Glasgow. Why are you mentioning little rural villages in Scotland? Just like I never use my client's real name, I also never disclose their actual location. Yes, this was a rural village in Scotland, not too far away from Glasgow, but don't get it twisted, it was not in Glasgow. If I'm ever revealing a location, it's usually just because that's the largest nearby city. Now, although this bathroom looked rough, it was actually one of the easiest spaces to sort out in this home. Everything that was previously on the floor was either clothes or rubbish. The clothes were bagged up to be washed later, and the rubbish was added to the skip pile for day 2. Most of the toiletries in the bathroom were empty bottles because the resident had already taken his essentials with him. One of the questions I get asked the most is actually what happens to the residents during the free cleans, which is a totally valid question considering 99.99% of the time it is not safe for them to be in the home whilst the clean is taking place, just simply due to all of the strong products that we need to use in order to properly sanitize the place. And just quickly, what you're seeing right here is the initial cleaning. It's just where we get off the top layers of grease and dirt. This is not the sanitization stage. Back to speaking about accommodation. With this particular resident, having him stay with his family and friends wasn't an option. Obviously, him continuing to sleep in his car was also not an option. And he wasn't able to get any time off work whilst this clean was taking place. So he needed to stay somewhere that was within a commutable distance. With all this in mind, the most sensible option was for me to find a hotel that was close by to his place of work. Ideally, one that had food included within the room price, so he also didn't have to worry about, you know, buying extra meals and extra food whilst he was away from home. That way, he had somewhere safe, clean and comfortable to rest whilst the clean took place. It's something that I don't speak about too much, but a large majority of the people that I clean for are put up in hotels whilst the clean takes place. It's all paid for from the money that I make through posting these videos. So when you watch these videos, you are contributing to the next free clean. I fear that now is an important time to mention. Please do not be concerned about me because I drink Red Bull and Monsters when I'm on clean. Quick break, I went back in to finish off doing the initial clean on the bathroom. So please enjoy this next segment, which I am calling Harry Cam. Now, essentially what Harry's doing here is an initial exterior clean on all of the appliances. He is simply just removing the top layer of grease and grime. Again, at this point in the clean, our intention is not to sanitize anything. It is just to get the initial layers of dirt up. Once he's done that on all of the appliances, he's going to pop them to the side where they're nice and safe and then start tackling the worktops. And whilst he continues with that, I just quickly wanted to finish off my last point about accommodation. Understandably, these cleans can be so overwhelming for residents. Even though they know what's happening and they're very much involved in every decision when it comes to their home, it's still a massive change for them. I think any of us would feel quite anxious knowing someone was going through our home. So in terms of accommodation, whatever option is going to put the least amount of stress on the resident is the option that I will always go for. Sometimes that looks like staying with a family member or a friend, and sometimes that looks like staying in a hotel. And whilst we're on the subject of stuff that happens behind the scenes, I need to expose myself a little bit. So this clean actually took place around 7 months ago. This is an old video. Around the time that I started this clean, it was a huge milestone for me. It was one of the first times that I'd been able to afford to travel far from home for a free clean. It was one of the first times that I'd been able to pay for a resident to stay in a hotel during the clean. It was the first time I could afford to hire a specialist waste removal, bring in brand new furnishings, decor and professional equipment, all for one clean. I'd done a few of these things here and there on previous cleans, but this was a big clean for me where I could afford to do all of it. just on this property. At the time, being able to afford to do those things felt like an enormous achievement. But now, because of the support from YouTube, those types of things have become way more normal. Traveling across the country, arranging hotels, covering skips, biohazard removal, all of those are regular occurrences that happen on the free cleans now. And I just want to say in advance that that growth is entirely because you guys choose to watch and support these videos. The cleans wouldn't be where they currently are today without you. So thank you so much for everything. You're amazing. As the scale of these free cleans has grown, so have the amount of new viewers that have stumbled across these free clean videos and understandably have a lot of questions about how they work. Now, there is one question in particular that keeps popping up and I've always refrained from answering it. A lot of people are very surprised that I don't replace the carpets on these free cleans and they want to know why. And I have been sitting on this long form video ever since because I didn't want to release the video without explaining the answer. And at the same time, I was worried that if I explained the answer, people wouldn't like what they heard. So I know it's going to irritate quite a few of you, but I don't replace flooring. And at the beginning, that was because I simply couldn't afford to replace flooring. Nowadays, it's more about logistics, capacity, and timing than it is about money. Stick with me. Flooring requires landlord permission, measurements, sourcing materials, arranging fitters, staying a few extra days after the clean is finished so those fitters can come and measure and actually install the carpet or whatever type of flooring it is. It's a whole separate project on top of the free cleaning project. I'll be so for real with you, by the end of these free cleans, I'm tired. Some of these bad boys last 2 weeks. And in those 2 weeks, Harry and I are doing 12+ hour days every day. And after hours of physical labor, we're then going back to our Airbnb to edit. It's exhausting. The last thing I want to do once I finish cleaning is to then extend my hotel stay for even longer so that I can get painters and flooring experts in because they can't start the work that they would need to do until the property is clean. So yeah, basically, in a nutshell, that's why I don't replace carpets. But I did just want to say for the record, even though the carpets are not replaced, you have my word that they are deep cleaned and sanitized within an inch of their life. They might be a bit stained and they might not look brand spanking new, but I can promise you they are safe and they are clean. And I will be sharing how I get them super duper clean in a few minutes time. We ended up calling it a day at this point because Harry and I were knackered and I still had that video that was due the next day. Just to update the hours spent tally, we spent 9 hours cleaning on this day, then 3 hours editing and doing voiceovers once we got back to the Airbnb. So that's 12 hours. And if anyone ever wondered what me doing a voiceover looks like, it literally looks like this. By the time we were finished for the day, we were done. Hi guys, it is day 3 of the free clean in Scotland. It's going really well. The whole flat is now completely emptied of everything that we are getting rid of. We've made a start in the kitchen. Harry's been hoovering the floors. We've got a carpet cleaner, a big Karcher boy, so today is going to be trying to get these carpets back to life as much as we can. Bathroom's pretty much almost there, and then we're kind of there. So yeah, I'm excited. I know what you're thinking, oh my god, she's not wearing a mask. Well, before we left on day 1, I sprayed bedbug treatment across the entire flat and left it overnight to fully work throughout the space. Before we left on day 2, I pre-treated all of the carpets by fully saturating them in Starkill. The purpose of this was to essentially kill all the bacteria, pathogens, spores, etc. Anything that is harmful and lingering in the carpet had to go. This stage not only helped to neutralize the smell, but it also made the area safe, so when we returned on day 3, we could finally remove our respirators if we wanted to. Full transparency, Harry spent all of day 3 purely working on the carpets. Using Starkill as a pre-treatment the night before was stage 1. For stage 2, we used a product called Single Pass. This product is intense. It literally breaks down and dissolves all of the nastiness that's hiding in the carpets. I'm talking all the mice poop, all those sugary drinks, the rotten food. Everything is at this point being broken down by the cleaning product. And you could see all of that gunk just oozing out of the carpets as soon as it started to become agitated. And between us guys, I can't even even put into words how satisfying some of these water dumps were. But once stage 2 was complete, the final third stage was going back in again with the Starkill just to sanitize and deodorize everything one final time. Now, like I said before, after all of this, the carpets were obviously still stained. Nothing is going to get those stains out. The landlord or the tenant will need to replace them at some point, and although they might look ugly, they are clean. I should also probably mention that whilst Harry was focusing on the carpets, I spent day 3 finishing off the initial clean across the home before it was time for the claw clean to come out and the sanitization to begin. And yes, of course, like always, we sanitize multiple times. You only ever see a tiny portion of these free cleans on camera because if I showed you everything, you would just get bored. Usually, at this point in the clean, I'm absolutely buzzing. The closer it gets to the resident coming home, the more excited I become. But I can't lie, the only thing I was feeling as I began to spray my claw clean down was nerves. Because throughout all the months that I'd been speaking to the resident about this clean, he constantly said and did things that made it very obvious he didn't feel he deserved for things to get better. This was a man that wanted a fresh start but had very low self-esteem and was desperately fighting against a voice in his head that was telling him he didn't deserve it. Ultimately, I think I was so nervous because I really didn't know how he would react or if he'd even like the clean. Now, like I said earlier, whilst I was doing this clean, I was so proud of it. Now, looking back 7 months later, I feel slightly differently. And I think that's partly the reason why this video is 7 months old and it's only just being shown publicly now.
Yay or nay?
Sorry.
Just to the right of centre.
We're on our last day now. All we have to do is put the flat back together. We went to B&M last night at like 8 PM. Had the nicest taxi driver ever. He literally like waited for us when we went to B&M so then we could go back to the flat and clean and drop the stuff off, waited for us and then drove us back to our Airbnb. How nice is that? And he didn't like charge us through the roof for it.
But he does not give 2 craps about what she talking about right now.
Harry's telling me off because he says I talk for too long. I tried to tell him that's what YouTube's all about. You meant to talk. I actually think it's kind of weird you don't want me to talk as much as I want to. I've also just seen, look, on the wall, it's a Highland cow, Harry. I really want to see a Highland cow, but I think we have to go to the Highland. Okay, now I'm watching the footage back. I will admit that I do ramble on quite a lot. So I'm going to do my best to say what I'm about to say in the most concise way. There's no point sugarcoating it or lying. I made the wrong financial decisions on this clean. And in order to explain that properly, I need to give some context. So because of all of the money that I'd made across my social media account, I had a budget of £4,000 for this free clean, which is an insane amount of money, but the cost of cleaning products, waste removal, accommodation, etc. also adds up to be an insane amount of money. So that £4,000 went quite quickly. Now, for health and safety reasons, we had to throw away quite a lot of the residents' belongings. After I'd paid for all of the essentials I needed to complete this clean, I had £300 left to spend on refurnishing and redecorating the entire flat. With the leftover money, we went to B&M and IKEA and I bought all the basics that I could possibly think of to make this flat feel like home again for the resident. I really poured everything I had at the time into this free clean, and I don't regret that for a second. However, if this clean came to me today, I would have prioritized buying the resident a brand new mattress and bed frame over buying him all of these decor bits. To be honest, I feel guilty and sad that I didn't do it at the time.
We are finished. I'm really happy with how it turned out. Sofa's looking great, everything's nice and clean, it smells fresh. We've got little cutie bits on the table, nice rug, fake plants everywhere because, let's be honest, you don't want to worry about keeping a plant alive. Kitchen's all nice and clean, fridge is all nice and clean. I'm so excited. Now he can like cook meals again and enjoy his kitchen again. He's got all new bowls, cutlery. He's got a new vacuum / mop that he can use. Pots and pans all nice and shiny. Yeah, everything's clean. This is the bedroom. I'm really happy with how it turned out.
It looks very clean, very nice. We went for a green theme. It's very neutral, but obviously he can decorate it however he wants. The walls need repainting, but that's something that the tenant or the landlord can do. But for now, it's clean. There's no rats, there's no maggots, there's no flies. Happy days. Before I go, I did just want to clarify one last thing. In a perfect world, I would have loved to provide a new bed, mattress, and fully furnish the flat, but the budget just simply didn't stretch that far at the time. Because most of the residents' belongings had to be thrown away due to contamination, I chose at the time to prioritize decor and buying the essentials so that the flat didn't feel like a completely empty space when the resident came home. If anything, I think that this video just goes to show how far the free cleans have grown and developed in the last 7 months. And bed dilemma aside, I'm really happy.
Oh, that's pretty much it. Let me know what y'all think down below. Like, subscribe, comment, all of that. This was refreshing. It's good to see that she's helping out people, you know, get their stuff together. So that's a blessing. Not only for her, but for them as well. You feel me? That was good. That was good.